This video is brought to you by Squarespace. When it comes to websites, online stores, etc., there's no place to build a beautiful online presence like Squarespace. So I've never seen The Lord of the Rings, and by the time you guys see this video, I actually will have seen them. And the cool twist about that is that this video is being recorded only like a few days before I post the video. What I'm trying to say is I'm watching all 3 Lord of the Rings movies in one day, and that day is going to be tomorrow. I'm not excited about it, but I'm not excited about it, you know? I don't think, I don't have an opinion on the movies. I haven't seen them. I don't think I'm going to not like them. I actually think I'm going to like them. They seem pretty good, but this doesn't seem like my type of movie. I'm kind of nervous about it. I don't want to waste anybody's time, even though I'm wasting a lot of my own time. I'll see you guys tomorrow, I guess. Okay, so it's the next day. It is 9:54 a.m. I have a cup of coffee back there. I have a banana bread somewhere, but I'll check in with you guys later with some notes, I guess. So I just finished the first movie, as you can see in the back. I thought I had a lot more movie left, but apparently there are like 20 minutes of credits, which is honestly a really good thing. Because listen, this movie is really long, and it's the shortest one out of the 3. But that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's actually really good. I had a great time with this. Oh man, I kind of love it. My first note is that it's surprisingly cute. I smiled so much during this. Bilbo is adorable. Every time he was on screen, I cracked a smile. I felt a bunch of love in my body. That wasn't the right thing to say. But I loved him. I also loved Gandalf, who I'll get to in a bit. I thought Frodo was a fantastic protagonist. I mean, I can see why this thing is so loved. I didn't feel a lot of empathy towards him until like the last hour of the film when he's experiencing a lot of grief. I think this film surprisingly deals with that really well, and I think it's because it has so much time to deal with it. Back to Gandalf. I mean, he's hilarious. He has some roasts in this thing that are just unbelievable. A lot of them are aimed at Pip, I think is his name. I love Viggo Mortensen's character. I hope we get a lot more of him in the next few films. I wrote down kind of like Shrek. There's a specific moment, I want to say like halfway into it, this big group of guys all come together and the journey begins. It's so cool. It's kind of like what I get when I watch an Avengers movie, even though I don't really care about the Avengers. When they all come together, it gives me a feeling in my heart that you can't resist. And this movie does that, and it manages to do that in the first film, albeit 2 hours in, but still. I just think it does a great job at bringing a group of people together that you manage to care about, and then kind of leaves you thinking like, who's gonna die? The one I did care about dying was Gandalf. He almost dies like so many different times in this thing, same with Frodo, and then he actually dies, and I was losing my mind, so that was crazy. Also, just the theme, the score of this film is unbelievable. Dude, I love this thing. I'm excited. I get to watch the next one just right now. So that was the 2 towers. I changed my hat because I looked bad in the other one, and I changed my shirt because that movie made me sweaty. Good God, that was so draining. I have way more to say about this one, but I think I liked The Fellowship a lot more. I will get into that near the end of this video, but for right now, I'll just talk about the 2 towers. Okay. First things first, huge fan of the Ents, the trees or whatever they're called. The way they came in the end, I'm skipping ahead of myself, but those amazing addition to this universe. I guess I'll touch on something that I meant to touch on in the first movie, which is the makeup and hair and the production design of these movies is phenomenal. I just love how detailed the worlds are in all of these films, and it is so much better in this one than it was in the first. Visually, as a whole, this one is such a step up in terms of cinematography. God, it just all felt so real and so vivid. And it's like 2002 this came out? That's crazy. There is one thing about these movies. It's like every 30 minutes, they make you think a character died, and then that character comes back. As a very gullible person, it's tricked me every single time. I thought Pip died, apparently not. I thought Gandalf died, but he came back. I don't know why that was a surprise. He's like the main part of the franchise. Something I really appreciate about this one is just how much more challenging it is than the other film. Fellowship was such an adventure. It was very much like a family film, but this one felt so mature and so dark. It got so dark so fast. That's something I really appreciate about this, that a lot of other big movies like this don't deal with, is that this one recognizes what grieving is. Like, every time a character dies in this franchise, the characters actually care. which is, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad we got more, what's his name? Aragorn. And speaking of names that I don't know how to pronounce, Orlando Bloom. He is out of control. There's this move he does to get on the horse during this fight scene with bears. And then the final battle. Let's all be serious for a second. That was amazing. That was an amazing battle sequence. Jesus Christ. I mean, they just kept giving you the goods. The ladders and the explosions. And what's his name? Whoever said, "So it begins," and only a few minutes before that said, "How did it come to..." Two very badass lines. Killed it. But like I was saying about Orlando Bloom, he surfs down the stairs on a shield. Amazing. God, I screamed. The thing about this film is that every time it gets really good or really intense or it's moving into something, it drops all that momentum to focus on whatever the other stories are. So if you're on one storyline and it's getting really good and it's ramping up into something, they kind of hold back on that and cut to Pip. They cut to him way too many times. I mean, during one of the best battle sequences I've ever seen, they cut back to Pip and his trees 4 different times. And one of those times is cool because the trees get involved, and that is a whole nother thing entirely. But I'm like, stop showing us Pip. I want to see Orlando Bloom. I just think that there's a huge gap in this film in the second act that is just so dull and so slow. It loses momentum, and in the context of whatever else is happening, just doesn't feel as interesting. I will say though, it's 5:46 p.m. This really is starting to take a toll on me. I have another cup of coffee. Why am I holding it like that? So yeah, I won't waste any more time. I've had about a 20-minute break now. Let's get into this third film, shall we? So I did it. I've watched every Lord of the Rings movie extended edition. Time to start The Hobbit. Guys, I'm kidding, guys. That was a joke. So where to start? This one starts with the dentist from Willy Wonka dying immediately. I really liked that though. It made the rest of the film super unpredictable. I'd also just like to point out that the Smeagol thing that happened at the end of the last film, amazing choice. Such a good decision. It set up for such a great ending. Let me just get this out of the way. This thing starts off very slowly. I think it's all totally essential. I think it is doing a lot of wrapping up and tying up some loose ends that are completely necessary. But man, it just takes a minute for this thing to pick up, doesn't it? And I can't believe I'm saying this, but once you get past the 2-hour mark, it gets really good. In fact, once you get past the 2-hour mark, there's still 2 hours and 23 minutes left, so you should have enough to enjoy. Let's get into the meat of this, the battle sequences. I guess there's just really one that I want to talk about though, and it's the one with the elephants. You know what it is. Aragorn hops off a ship with a bunch of the dead people that he was trying to recruit from earlier, and they just wipe out the place. If we're being honest, it's pretty unfair. That shouldn't be allowed. Orlando Bloom comes back, as he should, and as soon as you see him make eye contact with one of the elephants, you know he's about to do the coolest thing that's happened in the entire trilogy. He swings around the trunk of the elephant like he did that horse in the second film, and he just starts shooting arrows at his head. God, I was losing my mind. But then you're like, what happened to Frodo? You know what I mean? The main character of this thing. You think this is the last battle. You still have an hour and a half left. So we cut back to Frodo. The spider thing happens. Frodo gets free or whatever, and now it's time to take the ring to the Mount Doom or something. Earlier, Gollum dies, like he falls down a hole, but then he comes back somehow. I don't know how he did that. Him and Frodo, duel it out. Gollum goes in the lava. The ring goes in the lava. The big eye disappears. Everything goes back to good. And even after the main conflict of the film gets solved, we still have a good 45 minutes of wrapping up. But that's the thing about these films. They're very long and they take their time with these characters, and it gets tedious sometimes, but I really enjoy that. I think it does such a great job with world building and character building that it could be 6 hours and people would probably be fine with that. A huge thing they do at the end of this film is they remember purity and love and friendship. I think that's an aspect of this trilogy that so many other big franchises miss out on. These characters feel like actual people who deal with actual emotions on a really raw level. I thought this finale was perfect. Having seen the other two the same day, I thought that this just tied up everything so neatly. I thought they embraced the adventure of fellowship with the psychological aspects of the Two Towers, and made for a really interesting and unique film. So let me wrap this up by saying a little bit about watching all these films in one day. It was insanely draining, both physically and mentally. My eyes kind of hurt, my brain kind of hurts. I don't know what I'm saying right now. If you're wondering if you should do the same with this specific trilogy, I am going to say no. If you've already seen the films and you want to kind of go through this because you've never done it before, then go for it. But if you've never seen them before like me and this is going to be your first introduction to them, honestly, I'd say don't. I really loved these films and I got chills multiple times, especially when Gandalf showed up, but I never cried. And that's weird for me. I cry a lot at movies, and I really should have cried at these bad boys. And I didn't cry because I was just so exhausted by the end. I hate to admit it, I wanted it to be over. And you should never want a movie to be over, especially when you really like the movie. I'm a huge believer in that you should watch movies because you want to watch the movies, not because you want to say you watched the movies. Hence the reason I deleted my 100 movies in one summer video. It's just something I wasn't proud of. But this felt a little bit different because I do know a few people who have done the marathon. It is a normal thing to do, and they said it was fun. So I was like, why not? Yeah, you shouldn't do it. I'm not going to rate them. Right now, at least, I'm too tired to. They're too fresh in my mind. Two Towers is last, then Return of the King, then The Fellowship at first. But at the end of the day, yeah, I had a great time watching these. I think they're all pretty great. As of now, I'm very tired. I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm going to cut to this outro. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know I did. Before you head out though, I want to give a quick thank you to this week's sponsor, Squarespace. Now, Squarespace, if you didn't already know, is a place where you can take that idea you've had and turn it into a website. They have a wide array of award-winning designer templates that will make that idea, that website, look amazing. If you think you're not that great at building websites, don't worry. I'm also not, but they have 24-hour customer service to walk you through whatever issues you have, making it a very easy process. And guess what? The best part about it all is that if you go to squarespace.com/Karsten, you can get 10% off of your first purchase. Folks, there's no reason not to give it a shot. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to check out these movies and form your own opinion, and I'll see you guys in the next one.